Hi, we're the B-52's. My name is Cindy Wilson.
I'm Fred Schneider.
I'm Kate Pearson.
And I'm Keith Strickland.
And it all began in 1977 in Athens, Georgia. We were just hanging out in Athens, you know, and one night we decided to, well, there's nothing to do. Let's go to a Chinese restaurant where they had these wonderful volcano drinks up that flamed and everything, and everybody got a straw and put it in it. And after that, we were inspired, you know. So from then on, that's when we started rehearsing and come up with these. Our first song, I think, was Killer Bees, which never got recorded, but it got things moving, you know.
We played a couple of parties, but there was really no clubs in Athens, so friends of ours in Atlanta, in the group called the Fans, went to Max's Kansas City, so he said, we'll go along with you and bring a tape. So we brought a tape, and Max's said, sure, come on up. So we went up in December of '77, did our set for 17 people. It was about 30 minutes long, and after that we thought, well, this is it. We did it. We played Max's, so we can go home now. And then Danny said, wait, let me see if they want you to come back, which, you know, we were already in our station wagon. And they said, sure, come on back. And so we did.
Then, back in Athens, Danny Beard decided to offered to put out our first independent single, which was Rock Lobster. So he was stuffing the records by hand and sending them out, and they were going to New York. And we started coming up to New York and playing clubs like the Mud Club and Hurrah's. And one night at Hurrah's, we started noticing the line getting longer and longer as we looked out the window, and we realized we've made it. The line is all the way around the block, and then we got a record contract. And then we made our first record down in the Bahamas, and we toured for about 8 months. We went to Australia, and we went to Japan.
And then we recorded our second album, which was Wild Planet. And we recorded that with Rhett Davies as producer. And what did we do then? We did more touring.
Mesopotamia.
More touring, Mesopotamia.
With David Byrne.
Then we toured again.
Whammy.
Yes, Whammy came up. And after that, we went to Rock in Rio. That was our last gig, I think, before Ricky died.
We did a party mix, and Bouncing Off the Satellites came after Party Mix, and now we have an album, Cosmic Thing, produced by Nile Rodgers and Don Was. And it's the best thing ever.
So a lot of people worldwide know the B-52's, other people worldwide love the B-52's, and I think they all want to know, why have they been waiting so long for the new B-52's album?
Well, it takes us a long time to write songs. I mean, we don't just pop them out. And during Bouncing Off the Satellites, Ricky passed away, and we didn't really know if we were going to continue as a group. And after a while, we felt better about things and felt we wanted to keep going, we started rehearsing again, and we started writing. And it took us about 2 years, I guess, to write the album because we had so many delays with, trying to get producers and things. Nile Rodgers and Don Was had different schedules, and we'd have to work in their schedules, and there were delays, on the record company's part as far as production things and stuff, and so now it's ready. But it usually takes us a while. It usually takes us 2 years to write an album. We don't just, put them out every year.
We just really wanted to get something very enthusiastic sounding. The best way to do that, I think, is to work as a band, and you get that feel thing happening, between the bass player and the drummer and
Ooh, we got the feel.
guitarist.
We really went for a live band sound. We worked with Don Was, and we rehearsed in the rehearsal barn at Bearsville near Woodstock. And we have a bass player who's playing with us now, Sarah Lee, who used to play with Gang of Four, and she's going on tour with us. And we have a drummer, Zach Alford, and we've got a real band. We had different drummers playing on the album, but we really set it up so we were playing together as a band and singing and playing together, rehearsing. And when we went in with Don, we did it that way, recorded. And then when we recorded with Nile, we had the same kind of setup.
Did you decide to take a break after the last record and have a real think whether you wanted to carry on with one less person?
Definitely.
Yeah, you know, and I was going through a real hard time personally, you know, since my brother, you know, passed away. And it took me a while to, you know, work things out, and the band helped me a lot. But going back to work and being creative it's a real good thing to do. And I've enjoyed it, working on this album, and we're real excited about it.
Well, we took our time. I mean, after Ricky passed away, we didn't really think we were going to continue. We didn't feel like there was any way we could, because he was so important to the band as a songwriter.
We made a conscious decision not to tour.
Yeah.
We decided no tour for this album, for Bouncing Off the Satellites album. Although there was a lot of pressure to kind of support the album. I mean, generally, we just felt like we couldn't do it.
So we took our time, and certain opportunities came to us. We were asked to do a host, we didn't perform, but asked to host a benefit in Washington, D.C. for PETA, which is People for Ethical Treatment of Animals.
Rock Against Fur.
And then we did Rock Against Fur, but little things like that brought us together and put us before an audience, and we felt from the audience people were really wanting to see us again, and you know, we just pulled together and
Even before
slowly started writing.
Even before the Rock Against Fur, I mean, we started recording this album over a year ago with Nile Rodgers. We did Cosmic Thing, the title track for the album, for the movie Earth Girls Are Easy. So we just are friends, so we kept hanging around together, and we basically felt like there was a certain strength after losing Ricky. There was a certain strength in staying together that, you know, we could really support each other, kind of help each other through those times, you know. And
Over the years, Athens has turned into one of the most famed musical metropolises in America, and
It's a hotbed for music activity, that's for sure. It was so different. When we started out, it was empty. There was no place for us to play live except at friends' living rooms for parties.
Well, it wasn't exactly empty. There was like
But for-
country rock bands going on, and
There wasn't an alternative music scene.
No.
I mean, for us to play, we had to go to New York or Atlanta after that. After we played New York, we played Atlanta. But Athens was quiet, real quiet town.
Well, it's still very similar, though. I mean, you know, people would just hang out and go over and hang out on somebody's porch, and you know, it's still very much a,
it's still Party City,
Yeah,
Party
it's-
Central.
you know, it's a very hot, creative atmosphere. I mean, it's very humid, you know, and I don't know, it's just
Steamy.
creativity just oozes out of the bricks.
There's a lot of room to sort of create your own fun there. There always has been, and you know, things happen. Like after a concert there one time, everyone said, "The club's closed. Let's go down to Stitchcraft," and everybody ran down this hill. And there's this old pottery studio called It used to be a Stitchcraft knitting factory, and everyone like jumped down into this. It was sort of a pit in the ground in the backyard, and strobe lights started going off, and everyone started dancing, and this band started playing. It was just like such a spontaneous party, and I can't imagine that happening in New York or, you know.
yeah, I mean,
city.
from what I
It's just a
understand,
wild scene.
yeah, all your early shows, I believe, were played in people's houses at parties because there was no clubs.
We played at Julian Gray's on Valentine's Day. Was it in 1978 or 77?
76, I would think.
Well, way back. And we just played in their living room. And I remember someone had to hold the little amp. We had borrowed all our equipment, and someone had to hold it because the room was shaking so much. Someone had to go and like hold the equipment so it would fall off the shelves. And we thought the floor was going to break at one point. But
People have told me stories about you all down in Athens in those days. That if anybody was going to bring a hose in from a garden
that
at
was
Part
me.
C, it would be Kate. What kind of things were you doing there?
oh, we were just free spirits. I mean, we didn't really want to create any. This was at a friend of mine's party, so it was okay.
You
But
just-
we did a lot of sort of crashing parties, like plotting during the day, like where's the party tonight, and we kind of
Real
go.
party terrorist.
Yeah, we'd dress up really wild and go to this. What was that disco called? the first one in
the
Athens.
circus?
The circus. And we'd go there dressed in wild outfits, just not just us, but other friends, and people would wear high heels, shoes on their heads.
We wouldn't
and-
buy drinks, so the
Yeah,
bar
they
owners
just-
hated us, and we disrupted the whole atmosphere. So.
And we go to parties and kind of dance wild and maybe have a food fight or two, but we never really, were mean.
I think it's perfectly fair to say that it was you who started the whole scene down there. I mean, does that give you a sense of pride when you look back and you see there's like hundreds of bands and everybody looks at them? And
Yeah, we feel good about it. We didn't consciously set out to do it. We just didn't like our jobs. We had I mean, I did like the job I had when I worked as a chauffeur for an elderly council thing where I had to drive
Yeah.
people around to
Wheels-
doctors'
Meals
appoint-
on Wheels.
Meals on Wheels. And Cindy worked at the Whirly Q lunchette.
Yeah, I was a waitress. It's the center of the universe. I thought,
Kate worked in the local newspaper, and Keith and Ricky worked at the bus station. So we weren't exactly career-oriented. So doing a band killed time, and we had a great time. And it just kept going and going.
It was
People
an
said,
outlet.
when you were playing those parties, did you ever envisage that you would one day be this, hippest of the hip dance bands touring the world?
Not at all. I mean, we thought our first party was it. We just got this show together for that, and we thought that would be it.
Yeah, I thought it was the ultimate that we played at Max's Kansas City. I thought, gosh, we've made it.
So we've just taken it one step at a time.
You're actually talking about there being no music scene when you started in Athens, and you've played New York before Atlanta. I actually heard that the first time you played Atlanta, the person who actually arranged the show for Danny Beard was in fact Peter Buck from R.E.M.
Really? That was a great show. It was the first Atlanta punk rock festival, and they had this group called the Knobs. And during the show, at the end of their set, the guy had a wooden leg, so he had a chainsaw and sawed it off. And all these girls are screaming, and everybody's going, "Oh my God!" So they had a good finale. But it was like the first time there was really an alternative music scene in the South, besides like Southern boogie or Southern rock.
It was,
And it started taking off after
Yeah,
that.
it was really exciting.
Right.
It was very funny, for at that time in the South, to have a punk festival. The Sex Pistols came into Atlanta. That's where they flew in, the first city when they invaded the country. Remember, was Atlanta, Georgia, and we were there.
How was it?
Oh, it was great.
Oh, it was
They were
great.
great.
It was really
It was
good.
really. Since we had a band and record companies wanted to get us signed, they would get us tickets to things, and so they got, we got to see the Sex Pistols
Oh, it
and
was fun.
different things like that.
Yeah.
That'll
be something you'll always remember,
Sure.
Yeah.
People down south have also said that you were that they couldn't believe a band could get a record deal. The B-52's came out of Athens, Georgia, and got a record deal. And they were the first non-sort of cowboy band, non-southern rock band to get a record deal. Now, was that one of the reasons that you moved up to New York, because you felt, well, it's going to be so hard to run it from
At
here?
the time, it would have been difficult to stay down there, and our management was in New York. And we were ready for a change. I mean, Keith and Cindy and Ricky had lived there all their lives, and Kate and I had been there about 10 years, and we just thought it'd be easier if we moved up here. But I don't think it changed our outlook too much. I think we still have a lot of our...
Yeah, we moved up to
Lake
Mayapack, New York, and I'll have to admit, it was quite a change, We moved up, it was...
sort of glacial. We went from like the sunny South to a more colder climate.
Yeah, it was interesting and exciting and scary all at the same time, when we moved up. But we were busy, we were touring a lot back then,
Working on
to do
different-
the first 2 albums, We were working hard.
You still live around the New York area?
Yeah, we live in Manhattan, and Keith and Kate have places upstate. So, we're back and forth.
What imprint on the music world do you think the B-52's can leave?
Oh, I don't know if it's like our place to say. That's a toughie.
One thing I always thought was amazing, I've been to so many different rock concerts, but our audience is just so, they really kind of go into a frenzy, and I think they really participate with us in kind of a trance dance or something. There's really a lot going on between us and the audience, and I think it's a participatory audience, and they don't stand and stare at us generally. So I hope we can still, I know we're still going to have that kind of thing going. That's what I'm really looking forward to, is playing and getting that energy from the audience.
Has there been any moment that's just stuck in your minds more than most? Has there been any one real achievement?
Oh,
Just playing in places like Australia and New Zealand and Rock in Rio. And
it's all been pretty amazing. I mean, it's hard to pick out one thing and isolate it and say that was it. But I don't know.
think-
Maybe the fact that John Lennon had heard us is pretty amazing.
John Lennon, what?
John Lennon had heard us, you know, and because of Rock Lobster, and Cindy does a very Yoko-style bit in that, and he called up Yoko and said, "Oh, you heard this band, the B-52's, and they're doing you. Let's get out the axe and start, you know, playing again." So that was quite neat.
that's a high point.
We were at the beach. Everybody had matching towels. Somebody went under a dock, and there they...
It seems to me like you're having a lot of fun on the new record. Actually, a lot more fun than on the last record. And it also seems something of a return to that real pumping dance beat.
Yeah, we've gone back to live drums, you know, which is great because everybody starts bouncing off each other, sort of, you know, and it's really strong and it's rock and roll, you know.
The
more.
rhythm section's really tight. You know,
Yeah.
Keith playing guitar, Sarah Lee on bass, and the different drummers, you know, they really would lay down a track pretty live all at once. And then we'd go in and do the vocals, and, you know, they'd add other things. But there was a feeling, you know, there was some edge to it when we were recording it, so we felt more, you know, alive and, you know, more free.
There's a couple of songs, like Love Shack is one that seems to me you've... it's the dance feel of the old B-52's, but it's definitely the sound of the late 80s. Is that a fair description?
Yes,
Yeah.
certainly. Any way you want to describe it. Yeah, that song is really fun to do live. We just did a show at CBGB's, and it was great. I mean, no one's heard it before, but it got a great response from the audience. It's just a really great live track. I mean, it's one of those songs that gets people going.
Well, we sort of had an idea of the whole band wanted to do some songs that sort of evoked Athens, Georgia, how we saw it and how we felt about it, even though we don't live there. When we were jamming, we started working towards some songs that just had a feel for the South and how we felt about it.
It seemed to naturally happen, kind of being kind of wistful and thinking about, you know, how when we used to live down there. And the second side of the album is more future-oriented, you know.
Then let's take that first side then. Why now to start being wistful about Athens? Why not on the last record? Or why
Well, it
Song title,
was.
from the song titles.
Actually, Bouncing Off the Satellite had lots of southern feelings to it, like Ain't It a Shame was kind of a southern. And Theme for a New Beach, I thought, was kind of, had a, you know, I don't know, you know, it was, to me,
Yeah,
it
that's
evokes
true.
a really, you know, warm, sunny southern feeling, you know.
Right. So, but there's certain songs on this record that is Dry County and.
Well, we come up with a title a lot of times first, and then we start singing and jamming, and after a while we realized, you know, we had a song, Dry County, which actually the idea came about 10 years ago, but we never really worked it out. And then Love Shack, which sort of evokes those Georgia roadhouse dance and drink places off the side of the road that are fun. And Junebug is about, you know, everybody in the summer goes inner tubing down the rivers. You have to watch out for snakes and gators and things, but, you know. So we saw that there were quite a few songs that had a southern feel to them,
Yeah.
but we didn't want to make it like a nostalgia, you know, album either. So we just let it happen.
Oh,
you
it's
know.
our imagination getting involved too, you know, creativity, you know, and just coming up with different things, you know.
Different images, you know. A lot of our songs are like little movies, and these are pretty tight ones.
You haven't toured in many, many years, but this year something different. You are going to go out and tour.
Yeah, we're touring.
Yeah, we got a kick-ass tour planned. We've got, as I mentioned before, Sarah Lee is going to be playing bass, and we have a drummer, Zach Alford, and I think we're really going to be great. We're going to do a major road tour.
Are you all really excited about doing this again now?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so much fun to play live. You know, it's really, I mean, we're our best live, you know. The studio has always been a situation where it's like, we just don't feel like we're captured properly, you know. And we really love to get the audience involved, and we thrive when the audience is just out there dancing.
The second side of the record is maybe more future-looking, and also there's certainly some environmental issues brought up.
Yes.
And the single,
Channel Z.
Now, do you want to elaborate on this a bit? I know that you've addressed those issues before, but you seem on the second side to a couple of times address environmental issues.
Well, we want to we've always, all of us have been on our own involved with different, you know, environmental and political organizations and things. And I think we wanted to add a more, you know, another dimension to our music by coming out a little, you know, more overtly, have a little more of a message in some of our songs. We did Juicy Jungle on the last album, and songs in the past have had references to different things, but it seems like the planet's starting to go a little bit down the drain, and we feel, you know, responsible to maybe help people become aware without being too preachy. Just hopefully,
Self-righteous.
because we feel people have to do it themselves because governments aren't, and if we can make a small contribution to that, you know, it makes us feel good and makes our music feel more valuable to us even, you know, by being able to, you know, get out there and make some statements that we believe in addition to doing dance music and things like that.
We've always had, in a lot of our songs, sort of disaster-oriented, kind of on the brink of disaster, dancing on the flames, kind of images. But I think we always kind of have an overcoming it image.
Right. You did the video up in part of it in Woodstock, and Keith, you come from that. I mean, was that your locale? It wasn't your back garden. We see you in. I
Yeah,
take it.
Kate also has a house across from the pond. We live on this big lily pond.
I
which-
can row over and have herbal tea at Keith's house. I have a canoe.
But it's in the Catskill Mountains in upstate New York, and it's quite beautiful, really beautiful place.
So that was pretty much your back garden, really.
Yeah.
And then we went to the waterfall where we go dive off the rocks, and it's a little chilly.